Hey y'all, welcome to Simple Conversations. This is KJ.
Hey, and it's Alice. So pause us for a minute, grab you something to drink, come back, sit down, and be a part of this conversation.
Because we have a lot to say. Welcome to Simple Conversations. So y'all, listen, this is our disclaimer. We're not here to give you any advice or tell you how to live your life.
Well, maybe just a little.
We're still trying to figure this thing out ourselves. Thanks for tuning in. Hey y'all, welcome back to Simple Conversations where grace meets strength. Hey Alice.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Really good. Really good. So today is March. We are finally in March 2021.
I'm ready for spring. We've had so much rain. It's so muddy. Everywhere is muddy.
It is. It is. But the sun is shining.
It is. I actually had to turn the air conditioner on yesterday and then turn the heat back on last night.
And welcome to Virginia. Welcome to Virginia, right?
Here.
I know. So listeners, we are super excited about our guests this morning. We are continuing this series, Amazing Courageous Women. And boy, have we really met some great women, but we still have more. Right? I'm telling you, the more we look, the more amazing, courageous women we can find. It is not hard. Seriously. I just need to say this. What in the world would happen if we did not have women?
Well, the world wouldn't exist, first of all.
Well, it wouldn't, but I'm just saying women get things done.
That was the next thing I was going to say, and then nothing would get done.
I know, right? Women get things done. Right? So listeners, this morning we have an incredible guest. She wears many hats, and I'm actually going to allow her to share how many hats that she wears in her world. But today we have the founder of LAMBS Place. And I just really need to share that LAMBS Place stands for Loving All Members in the Body of Christ. And so that is, I love that, right? I just love that. So Lauren Anzalone is with us this morning. She is actually in Greenville, North Carolina. So we are recording this by Zoom. But I just want to share a little bit about what I know about LAMBS Place, which is not a whole lot. But the incredible work that she is doing is just adding value to so many people's lives. So LAMBS Place, their mission is to provide affordable transitional housing for young people ages 18 to 25 who have aged out of the foster care system or who have had adverse childhood experiences. The vision is to build the kingdom of God by building the foundation of each youth that they support. Now, let me tell you something. That is something that the world needs more of.
Yeah.
Really, the world needs more of. So, listeners, I just need to introduce you to my good friend, Lauren Anzalone. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share and be with you ladies this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for agreeing. We appreciate it. So Lauren, let's just talk a little bit about how you and I and Alice met. It was about a year ago, and I was hosting a vision board workshop in Greenville, North Carolina. We have a mutual friend, and you attended that vision board workshop. And I will never forget the first time that I saw you, because I thought, oh, what a sweet spirit that you have. What a sweet spirit. But then the more I saw your vision board come together, I was like, this girl has some dreams and some visions. And so I just, that your vision board was incredible. So
I'm going to interject here and tell you that how true that is, because we have talked about your vision board when we've talked about other vision board classes. So yes, you definitely made an impact. That's for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, that was the first one I've ever done. And it's cool kind of to see the vision board now and where I'm at now. So that was a really neat experience. So I'm glad I was able to attend.
That's awesome. So some of those things that were on your vision board. Now, look, this is not a podcast about vision boards, but I am interested in for you to elaborate about that. So when you look at that vision board now, because that was your first time ever doing a vision board, and you look at it now, what has come to fruition out of that vision board?
I'm just kind of having to take a minute and look back at it. Well, I mean, I think the first thing that just kind of pops off my head is that so LAMBS Place, just to kind of elaborate a little bit on what you said, is, we're providing affordable transitional housing. And so when I met you, we didn't even have a house. We were just starting. We were just kind of starting the sharing our vision, partnering with folks. Sorry, there's a train outside of our office. And so one of the things that just jumps out at me every time I look at the vision board is I have a picture of the house, and that we were going to have our first house. And we not only have our first house, we have 2 homes now.
Wow.
So we have a house for males and we have a house for females. And, just, I don't know, we're wanting to change lives, not only our, the young people that we're impacting, but one of the other things that's on this vision board is it says for future generations. So we don't only want to just break the cycle of physical poverty, we want to break the cycle of spiritual poverty. And, that'll impact generations to come.
Yes.
And so that's just, part of our vision. And, it's a God thing. It's his thing. It's his baby. He's put me on assignment. That was a reminder that I found on that vision board, that I have to kind of remind myself quite often that it's his baby, not my baby, and that he's just given me the opportunity to get to do this. So I'm on assignment for him. And in the last year, I've really had to learn a lot about fundraising and grant writing, and so that was another thing that was on the vision board too. I was actually having to write a grant the other day and having to look back at how much we raised, and it took over $10,000 just to open the first 2 homes, and so we've done that in a pretty short amount of time, and then to maintain the homes is a whole different cost. But God's just been really, really good through all of this. So yeah, that's kind of the things that kind of jump out at me when I look at the vision board.
Mm-hmm. I love that, because see, that Bible verse that says he gives us the desires of our heart, like he gave you that desire because he knew he could trust you with it. Like he totally knew that you would do it and that you would walk it out. And I love that. I love that. So why do you have such a heart for children in the foster care system?
So because God, because I guess 18 years ago, I wouldn't have told you this is where I would have been, and I only can keep up with that because my son is about to turn 17. 18 years ago, in my mind, I was on track to go to school for physical therapy, and that was my goal, and that was my plan, and God shut that door hard. And just kind of learning where my next steps were. I ended up going to school and getting my master's in social work. And just over the years, I ended up landing kind of working with folks that were in the foster care system. And then I ended up being a supervisor for a therapeutic foster care agency. And so I got to know that program really well, and seeing the young people that were in there. And I always had the privilege of meeting the young people when they first came, and hearing their stories and hearing their hopes and their dreams. And, they want to be a police officer, they want to be a nurse, a teacher, all these things. And so I'm like, wow, these kids are, they're just like my kids. They just had a lot of bumps along the way, and some things that they've experienced I would have never experienced. And they're just, I don't know, they inspire me, to be honest with you. And so as I was working in that agency, that service ended at age 18, and very few decided to stay past 18. So I was always kind of wondering, well, what's the next step for them? And then I stepped into another role with a different agency that provided that transitional living skills support for young people that were aging out of the foster care system. And that's kind of where that started is, I was excited. I thought that was going to be my like forever career. And it was just the perfect fit because I got to help these young people reach their goals. But I quickly realized it was a real big struggle. And part of that personal journey for me was seeing, I was kind of in my own spiritual journey at that moment, because as I was making that transition from that one agency to the next agency, I was saying, Lord, I need to know that what I'm teaching these young people are not just Band-Aids and quick fixes, but that they're, because I know that you're the cure, and I know I really can't talk about you because of just restriction, but Lord, help me with this. And so that was part of that movement. And sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought.
No, it's good.
But I saw the heart that I was really struggling with is I had a lot of young people that could get a job. They could get into school, but the thing that they were really struggling with was maintaining housing for various reasons. There were just a bunch of different barriers. I had one young man, he was kind of bouncing from family member friends all over our county. And so he would lose his job about the time he would get settled into a job because he would lose his transportation. And so he was just kind of always starting over. And it was just hard because he was such a good kid. And then in about at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, our Department of Social Services was making changes to their extended foster care program. And in those changes, they were providing a housing stipend for these young people as long as they were going to school or working or participating in a kind of adult readiness program. And it was great on paper. I was super excited about this program. It made a lot of sense, but in the reality part of it, it was kind of almost hard to implement because, things like these young people don't have credit to go get an apartment. So then they were having like these ridiculous amounts of deposits. And they don't have family that can be a co-signer because most of their family is struggling maybe with credit as well, or they're not a healthy support for them. And, our Department of Social Services did a really good job of being creative in that, but that was a really huge burden for them as well, because that was funding that was coming out of there that could be used other ways. And so about February of 2018, I walked out of the third home that some of our young people were living in. And I was angry, if I'm honest. And I was angry that these young people were spending their money on housing that I wouldn't put my worst enemy in, to be, and, they were dull, they were dark, dingy, a lot of air, kind of older homes, not in good locations, just, all the things.
Right.
And I just remember walking out of that home going, God, you've got to do something. I wasn't physically stomping, but I felt like I was spiritually stomping to my car. I was like, God, you got to do something. You got to do something. And that's when he said, okay, well, you do it. And that's kind of the journey of LAMBS Faith, where it all started. And it took me a while to get on board with him, but I finally did. He keeps knocking. So yeah, that's how I got involved with foster care and kind of this specific population and seeing the needs and the struggles. And the more I learned about how housing and the instability of housing really impacted them in a whole bunch of ways, just kept speaking to my heart. Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. And so now in the last year, you have learned how to fundraise. You now have 2 homes in Greenville, North Carolina.
Yes.
And so who do you have living in these homes? Where do you find the young people? I guess from listening to your conversation, like there are many that deserve to live in your home, but where do you find the young people that live in your home?
They are actually starting to find us, which is exciting. But we have 2 males living in our one home, and then we have 2 females living in our other home. The other agency that I was working with before I transitioned into LAMBS Place, they have been incredibly supportive of this journey. And so all 3 of the guys that have been in the home, because we had one young man, he ended up leaving, and now we have 2 more young men, have been referred from that agency. And so that's a sweet partnership. And then I partner, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Daughters of Worth here in the Greenville area, but they're an agency here that they just really have a huge heart for our young women and empowering them and kind of raising them up. And so they had 2 young ladies that they met and actually were rescued out of sex trafficking. And those 2 young ladies needed stable housing. And so they've been supporting them, but that's how we got connected with these 2 young ladies. But we've also been in connection with local DSSs in this county and surrounding counties, different agencies there, and some family members have called. And so the need is there. We could easily open up 2 more homes, because I'm starting to get a need for more homes for males and now females. So yeah.
Wow. The need is there. That's it makes me sad, you know. Yeah.
Are there what are their requirements? Like, what's the checklist for them to be able to live in your home? And are there people that are not able because of whatever reason? Like, how does that work?
I don't really have like a solid checklist, because I want to, loving all members of the body of Christ, there's different barriers for these young people. Some of the so we are open from we serve and support 18 to 25. And most of our referrals are coming from folks that have been in the foster care system. And 2 of our young guys, like, they're on the autism spectrum. That's not probably our norm, but they didn't have a next step. And so we're kind of making that transition, trying to help them determine, are they able to live on their own, or do they need something else? And because we provide a lot of independent living skills and transitional living skills to help support them. As far as criminal background, we're not opposed to it. Like, if a lot of our young people have gotten involved in the legal system, and most of them will have a misdemeanor, but we are currently partnering with a property management company, and for their things, we're not able to serve folks that have a felony, and it's just part of their paperwork, and so that's one of our restrictions. But it's also one of those things that, we might be able to negotiate on if I can get more information. So one of the things that we do is we'll get the referral and the application, and then we set up a meet and greet where I get a chance to kind of meet with the young person, get a sense of who they are, what their goals are, because we really want to help the young people that are wanting to move forward. Now, there are some young people that they're not ready. They're just not ready yet. And we would certainly try, but sometimes they aren't always the best fit for us. They might need a little extra support somewhere else before they come live with us. So they need to be independent, but still need support in developing those skills, and ready to move forward, so they're wanting to look for employment. They want to go to school. They just don't know how. They don't know how to get all these pieces done. And not every kid wants to go to school right away. They just want to get out and work and kind of figure out what they want to do next. So as long as they're 18, we can pretty much see if we can support them. They do need to be able to sustain their rent payment. So that is one requirement for them. So in order for them to do that, of course, they need to be working, or if they're in or in the extended foster care program, they can sign the voluntary placement agreement, and that gives them their housing stipend. We have partnered with some folks, and we are currently raising funds too for that, what we call an emergency fund, that'll help our young people that might not have employment right when they come to us, but they're actively trying to look for employment, so we can help offset some of that cost for them, because we want to help. We want to be that safety net, if that makes sense, because we I had the privilege of being able to go off to college, and I had a safety net. So if I screwed up financially, or if I didn't make the wisest choices, I didn't completely just lose everything.
Right.
And I mean, I have one little example. So one of our girls, bless her heart, she, from her trauma, she reacted to a situation with somebody that's helping her pay her rent in a way that wasn't surprising to me, but it's not okay, if that makes sense. And so she basically cussed that person out, told them where to put it, and that she didn't need their support anymore. And the whole time I'm going, you're not going to be happy about that tomorrow, but we'll figure it out then. And she's involved in another agency, and so that agency called me because she knew what happened, and she said, look, we can help support her, and we just need to let her kind of feel this one for a minute. So we're not, and I have another young man, he had some trouble paying his rent because he wasn't able to get a job like right off the bat, because who can get a job in like 2 weeks in COVID? And so we worked out a payment plan, and he was, just to hear him say, really, you believe in me and you think I can do this and you're willing to work with me, that's part of my why. Like, those are those little moments that just, yeah, I believe in you, and I can't do it for you, and I can't believe for you, but I believe in you. And he called me yesterday, and he was like, Miss Lauren, are you coming by? I have my rent money. I was able to make it. I was able to work and get money. And so, those are such little things that I think we take for granted sometimes, that that is such a big deal for them. And I know you asked me a different question, and I went off into a tangent. So
it's okay.
Good. Yeah. People need to hear that. People need to hear that, not everybody has bootstraps to pull up. Okay.
Right.
Like, sometimes we have to start somewhere, and the family structure is huge. And when you grew up with a family structure, even if it was mildly dysfunctional, as most of us did, you still have them. But when you don't have them, and you don't have that to fall back on, that's huge. I mean, that's huge. Yeah.
I love that you are investing in the young people, giving them a hand up, not a hand out.
Love that.
And that the value that you're adding, like, how incredible is that this young man called you yesterday, and he is so proud that he has his rent money.
Yeah.
Like, I just love that. I love that you're investing, giving them a hand up. And as a result, I mean, that's quality of life for a young man to know that he can be responsible and handle his business, and how proud he is to be able to do that. And if it hadn't been for you in Lamb's Place, he would never know that responsibility.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see him continue to grow. He's a lot of, well, I say that about all my kids, but it's true. They have a lot of potential. And it's just, when before Lamb's Place, and, I've always worked with young people, adolescents to early adulthood, just to see them kind of come back or check in and say, hey, Miss Lauren, this is what I'm doing. And it's cool to have a little piece of that. I may not ever see the end result, but just to have that little impact is just enough.
Give us, what does it look like once you're in the house? So I'm interested in when you're teaching them like life skills. So have they already learned, or do you teach them like who does the grocery shopping, who's responsible for the utilities and making sure bills get paid, and do we balance checkbooks? Because I don't balance a checkbook anymore, but I mean, to learn to manage money and like those type of life skills.
That's a great question. Thank you. So our house is right now, they are 3-bedroom homes, and they each pay their own amount of rent, and that rent includes the fully furnished house, which was all provided by donations. I do have to add like a God celebration in that one. And it also includes, utilities, internet, some form of cable, and there was some other things I can't, but basically all your basic housing needs are met with their low rent. And so as far as like, they have to go grocery shopping, they have to do those pieces. Now, what we will do on the side is kind of help them. One of the things that we do and we focus on is their budget. So we will be meeting with them to make sure that they start developing their own budget. So what that looks like can be, so one of our young men, he is with DSS, so he has some leftover from his housing stipend. And so he wants to have a cell phone bill. He wants to have all these other things. So he has to learn how to budget that.
Right.
So he doesn't run out of money. And then as they're preparing he wants a bike, and I'm like, okay, so let's add that into your budget. And as they prepare to maybe start moving off, we'll also be including in that budget talk of, okay, what is it going to look like to move into your own place? Because here's a deposit. Here's how much rent and utilities, there's a deposit for your utilities, helping them prepare so that they can start saving and for that next step. If they need help learning how to grocery shop or cooking, we have a mentors program that we're developing and that we are implementing, and I'm doing a lot of it right now because we're still in the startup. But that's and so that would look like helping them understand what they need and go grocery shopping. One of the young men, he likes to call me all the time and ask if I can take him to the store or to go get this and the other, and I simply say, no, you can ride the bus. Because our houses are by the bus, by our bus system on purpose so that they have access. And it's not that I mind taking him. It's just I want him to not depend on me or other service providers, because what happens when one of the things that happens when our young people age out of the foster care system, either at 18 or 21, they don't have the skills. Because people have been doing it for them. Or if they age out of other programs at age 22. So by the time they are 25, I want to know that they are self-sufficient and can get the resources that they need. Most of our young people are eligible for food stamps, so we help them qualify for that. But also if they're going, I don't have enough money for food, unless they are absolutely starving and don't have money, then we'll step in. But we don't want to, like you were saying earlier, we don't want to be a hand out. We want to be a hand up. So we're teaching them how to use the resources in the community. Like, where's the local pantry? How do we get to those resources? And we walk alongside them in those skills. We partner with agencies in our community that are more specific with like employment and that skill building and that job coaching, because we could do that, but then, then it gets to be too much for us. We partner with other agencies that do come in and do some life skills, but they're only 6 months to a year. And so we have different partnerships in the community that can target certain needs, like educational needs, employment needs, and other life skill needs, so that we can kind of come in and just really focus on, for sure, the budgeting. We want to work on communication and conflict resolution. Those are our kind of three skills that we really enhance on or make sure that we want to work on, because a lot of the communication creates conflict. It can create conflict within, even in their homes. And the example that I always give is when I was in college, my roommate and we didn't never have a major conflict, but I rinse my dishes off and I'd leave them in the sink. She liked her dishes in the dishwasher. Like, that was putting the dishes up. And so she was getting frustrated with me, and I didn't understand why. But she was getting frustrated with me because she thought she was cleaning up behind me all the time. And I had no idea that she felt that way. But that can cause tension in the home. And so we're wanting to teach our young people how to create their own house rules amongst themselves and have that collaborative conversation. So our mentor program, they like part of they come in once a week and have those conversations, check in to see how the home, how they're working out, how things are going in the home. And then after that meeting, they have an optional devotion time. Like that's part of our mentor program because we want to build those relationships because our heart is to like build the kingdom. But many of our young people have had really bad experiences with religion. They don't trust people. So how would they how could I expect them to trust a God that you can't see? Right. Well, he's all about relationships. Right. And so, we want to build that relationship so they can trust us and start asking questions and we can pour into them in that capacity. Because God's knocking at their heart, because part of our prayer is that God will send the young people that he needs to come to Lamb's Place. And we've had some interesting situations already. And I'm like, all right, God, you brought them here. I don't know why. We just gonna walk through it real quick. So yeah, we're in the homes there, but they live on their own. There's not a house mama or a house parent. I really make sure when I have a tour this afternoon with a young man. So one of the things I'll make sure I have him understand is that this is their home. It's not, yes, I have a key to the home. I have a key to every one of the bedrooms and I could come in if I want to, but that's not treating them like it's their home. So I have a key and I'm still knocking at the door, and they're not used to that. They have said things like, why don't you just come on in? It's not my home. Right. It is your home. And, I have even when I have tours and I have, the news is actually wanting to do an interview on us today, but I'm asking our residents, hey, are you okay if we showcase this home? Because I don't want to just pop up like, hey, I'm in your space. I had one of the young men ask me, I can leave? Like, I don't have to tell you? I can, go for a walk and come back? Mm-hmm. You sure can. It's your house. It's your house. And so, we're in there, but we're not there on their own. We're just there for support.
I love that. So in your vision for Lamb's Place, just think about one of the young people that you have living there now. So what would be the time frame of the transition from the time that they enter Lamb's Place into Lamb's Place program to the time that you would say, okay, now I really think that you're ready for life. You're ready to go out on your own. You've got your budget. You've been doing great. Is it part of your vision to send them to the next step of life, or is your vision to wait until they say they're ready? What does that look like for Lamb's Place?
I love that question because I think that was part of the reason I was looking at age 25 as kind of like the time frame that we wouldn't take anybody else, or they kind of have to start scooting on out. I didn't realize that was actually 18 to 25 is the age range for when they refer to youth homelessness. I didn't know that when I was, it was just kind of, that came to my attention. So at age 21 is when young people will age out at of DSS, extended foster care programs. The other program that they can participate in ends at age 22. And so I don't have a limit, like you can only be here for a year kind of a thing. The goal and the vision is, we're wanting to prepare them to want to be ready to move to their next step. And, they don't particularly want to live with two other people that they don't know. But they are welcome to stay there for 2-3 years until they feel like they're ready to get to their next step. And then as they start preparing for that, so their bedrooms, for example, are fully furnished right now. But if they start bringing in bedroom pieces because they like that dresser or whatever, or they're preparing for their next home, we just take the pieces that we have in there already. And so yeah, we don't have like a 2-year, not 90-day frame. It's gearing them to get ready to take that next step and being comfortable to be successful. Now, if they come in at age 18, leave at like 19 and a half, almost 20, and try it on their own and it doesn't work for whatever reason, they're always welcome to come back if we have space available up until age 25.
Interesting.
And I think that's awesome because every kid does it on their own time schedule. So I love that there's not a written stipulation that you just kind of let them journey it for themselves, because even being a mom of 3 kids, they've all had a different journey. They've all learned at different levels. They've all experienced life and come back and experience some life. So yeah, I love that.
I do too. And a couple of times she said when they are ready, when they want to, so it's not that Lamb's Place is putting that specific time frame on it. I love that, because just because you've been working with someone for a year and you think maybe they're ready, but maybe they're not emotionally ready, or so that's incredible. So where do you see Lamb's Place in 5 years?
I see that we will be serving all of the counties east of 95 for sure. Now, whether that's having a home in each of the counties, I don't know what that looks like, or if it's having enough homes where, kids from different counties are coming to us. So yeah, that's where I see us starting.
That's awesome. What do you have any idea what the number is just in the county that you're in, which is Pitt County, North Carolina, correct?
Yes.
So
are you asking like the homeless?
Yes.
Statistic for
the
this
homeless statistics between the ages of 18 and 25, the population that Lamb's Place is serving. Like, do you have a clue of what
That's kind of a hard number to kind of pinpoint. And the reason that is because a lot of folks that are homeless are couch surfing or kind of staying under the radar. So that's where it gets kind of tricky to find that number. But there's easily like 20 young people aging out of the foster care system or in that age range for each county in the surrounding counties. And, there's like a good, like 5, so it's like 100 kids possibly in Eastern North Carolina that could be needing Lamb's Place at some point in their lives. And so, and that's just me kind of doing quick estimates and just having conversations. There's nothing that I'm reading specifically, but yeah, it's hard to kind of get that number, get a pinpointed number. And so that's why we also wanted to open it up, not to just young folks that are aging out of the foster care system, but to young folks that have had adverse childhood experiences, because a lot of the peers of our young people that have aged out of foster care, some of their peers have never touched the foster care system, or maybe they touched it when they were younger, but they never went into foster care. Maybe they went into foster care and then aged out before they turned 18. So they're not qualified for the extended foster care program, but they need that support just as much as the other kids. And so as we continue to grow, I see us, getting referrals from our residents as well, because they're the ones that know.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Better than the system would, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't really answer that question like with full statistics, but I do know that 1 in 5 young people that age out of the foster care system will experience homelessness.
1 in 5.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. One too many.
I like that.
Yeah, for sure. So when I was like digging around for some, information about Lamb's Place, I saw that you have a program called Champion for Change. What is that about?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Was that on Champion for
Yes,
Change.
yes. It was on Boys and Bolts. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No. Okay, no, I'm sorry. I know where it came from. I'm sorry. That was from where she took information from our website. And that, so Champions of Change is what we were calling on our website our partners. They're wanting to come together with us and partner with us to be that champion for change.
Yeah.
Whether that's prayer partners, financial partnership, donation, like I said earlier, both of my homes, y'all, I can't even stress it enough. I go in them and I'm amazed. We're fully furnished by just generous donations. And I don't mean like grandma's couch from like third generations removed, I'm talking like leather couch, like nice stuff. And then it's always fun to watch how God put it all together, because it all looks like you like went on purpose and bought it together, you know. And so, that's been a wonderful way that people have partnered with us, is donating. I have a lady that's giving me an entire living room furniture set that I have to go get. That'll be ready for the next home. Awesome. And so, yeah, Champions of Change is just ways people can partner with us.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think
it's just we've changed that name. That's why I think it's like it kind of.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's my fault. I need to go change my website. Thank you. Because we're calling it like Impact Partners and Partners of Hope, things like
that. Gotcha. Okay.
I think it's important to hear some of the verbiage that you've used today, like couch surfing and things, and people thinking about deposits. And so my oldest son was a single dad. He actually lives in Greenville. Was a single dad for probably about 8 years before he married. And so I know the struggle of trying to work, trying to budget childcare, trying to figure out, like, even once they're school age, what are you doing with after school when there's just one person trying to manage that? And then I have we now call her our surrogate daughter, who came to live with us out of a difficult situation with already with a little one and then pregnant. And so they're 15 months apart, and her just trying to go from a really bad relationship to getting back on her feet, and how challenging that is with medical coverage and, thinking about car insurance and having a vehicle and all of the things. How do you work and have 2 little babies? You can't put them in childcare. So without that family support system for both of them, that would have made the difference between sleeping in your car.
Absolutely.
And having a bedroom.
Yeah. So you touched on something that I don't think that is part of the why. There's so many pieces of the why for Lambs Place, but I had a really, my parents are super supportive of me. They always have been. But there was this period, I'm a single mom. I'm still a single mom. But when I was going through that transition, I had a college degree. And so I was able to get a lower, I was considered lower middle income, but that's, it's really still not enough. So I went from 2 incomes to 1 income. And, at the time my parents were out of state and they were supporting me as much as they could. But it was limited. They were limited sometimes in what they could do, and my sister was in a different city. Again, she was very supportive when she could. She'd come and watch my kids when she could, but she was working, she had her own stuff kind of going on. And there were days that I didn't know where I was going to put the money that I had in my hand, as far as, do I put it in the gas to get to the job? Do I go get my kids food? Like, those are real life choices.
Yeah.
And I remember in that moment, I come from a good family, I come, like there was some of that stigma that was there, and shame and all of that went along with that. But I also know that that was also the time that, I got connected into a really good church. They helped me with getting connections into the community that helped me during that time. Um, and and that just is really important for me, for these young people, because it's it takes a community sometimes to get that stability. And then once you can get that stability, you can start dreaming again. You can start, like, you move to the next level. But if you're constantly worrying about how you're going to feed yourself, where you're going to sleep, how you're going to do life,
Yeah.
it almost makes it impossible to get to the next level. And I had support. Like, that's what I'm saying. I had support through that time. But it didn't make it always easy. And I'm thankful for it, because God is using that part of my journey. And, because I can talk to my young people and say, I don't have your story and I don't have your journey. And there are things that you have experienced that wow. I said, but there was a time in my life that, and I get to tell them that piece. And then they understand that I'm not just somebody that, yeah, I'm here to help you. Because again, they have trust issues and they should. But, being able to share that part of my story brings them into the journey with me, and they allow me to be a part of their journey.
Yeah.
I think it's very important for us to remember that just because we have no context for a thing doesn't mean that it's not happening. Mm-hmm. So you had support, and still had to make hard decisions about how you were going to spend the money that was in your hand. Alice and I both, just like what you said, we come from good families. Like, nobody in our family would experience like living in their car, because we have family support. And I don't think, any of us three would ever be hungry, because we have family support, right? But these children, these young people that Lamb's Place is serving, have walked walks that none of us could even imagine. And I probably wouldn't live through. I mean, honestly, I'm an only child, and I'll just go ahead and say it. I've been spoiled all of my life. But I think that it's very important that we do remember that just because we don't have a context for something, that it is happening. And it's happening in our own communities, in our communities. So that leads me to, how can our listeners help Lamb's Place? Whether they're in North Carolina, whether they're in Greenville, North Carolina, or whether they're in Australia, how can our listeners help Lamb's Place?
So, our biggest need, and it should always be our first need, is prayer. Praying for our young people, praying for our team, praying that, that we can, our house, and just a hedge of protection around our young people, because they're walking through a lot of change and a lot of hard decisions themselves. And, I think becoming a partner is probably our biggest need right now, is because we're still in that growth stage. And we need that partner support to continue to pour into our kids' lives and continue to do the ministry that we've been called to do. And, that can look like a one-time partnership, monthly partnership, whatever is laid on somebody's heart. That would be amazing. Because we are actively looking. We're not in a place to open our third home, because we want to be stable with our first two. But that need is there. And so we're definitely kind of behind the scenes raising that support so that we can jump on it when we're in a good space. And, so kind of going back off of, if there's any housing item, I mean, like a lamp to a fork to a salt and pepper shaker, those are things that we can use as well. So those are just kind of fun, different ways. We're also, as we're kind of continuing to grow, partnering with us in your talents as well is a way. And what that looks like is, kind of helping us with like any business, like if people have really good business experience and input to help us get to and make sure that we're stable, because we really want to make sure that we're stable. Any advisory roles that people would want to help support us in. Volunteer opportunities. I don't have anything like jumping off my head, but mentoring, we have that mentor program. We want males with males, females with females. And so that information's on our website. And, we may have board positions coming up that could, if somebody's interested in serving in that capacity as well. So there's different ways to partner with us. But prayer and financial partnership are probably our two biggest needs right now.
That's good. That's good. So how can our listeners connect with you and with Lamb's Place?
So we have we do have a website. It's lambs-place.org. We're also on Facebook, and we're also on Instagram. And all of our contact information is on all of those locations. Like,
okay.
Like my phone number, emails, and all of that information.
Awesome. Awesome. And for the listeners, we will put that in the show notes so that you will be able to connect with Lamb's Place. So is there anything that we have not talked about today that you would like our listeners to know about you, about Lamb's Place, about the vision that God has given you, anything?
That's a loaded question, because I could talk all day about this. And I don't think anything's jumping off my head. I definitely have story after story, and I'd love to talk to anybody that has any additional questions about Lamb's Place. So.
Yeah, awesome. This has been so good. It's been really good. I do want the listeners to know, though, that you work a full-time job, right?
I do. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're a single mom.
Yeah.
And so you are not just and so you're not just sitting around on your sofa all day waiting to hear from God about what to do with Lamb's Place, because you are a busy woman. And so I say all of that to just encourage listeners that when you have something on your heart that is a desire or a dream, that really it's up to you to get it done.
Mm-hmm. Up to you. When Lauren, you said you came out of that situation and you said, okay, God, you're going to have to do something. And he said, what are you going to do? Yeah. And I love that, because I think that's true. I think often God is waiting for us to do our part so he can do his part. And it just requires obedience and faithfulness. And then
it's a journey. Like, I feel like I need to add that piece, because, I think, I know when I was younger in my faith and in my walk, I'd look at people, and it's been kind of interesting, because I've had some people come up to me and say the things that I would say to other people when I was younger in my faith. And I'm like, no. I'm really, like, you have no idea. Like, I'm just me. Like, I'm just trying to figure out how to get my kid to school or to driver's ed after school. Like, those are the choices. Like, I'm just a normal person. But it's a journey, because, like, it took me 6 months maybe after I had that, like, moment at that home. And, he just waits for you. And that's the cool part that he's really kind of been showing me. I had to really walk through some deep trust issues that I had with him and with me, because I kept trying to sit on the throne. He kept saying, nope, get off. And so as much as my heart wanted to be obedient to the things I feel like he was calling me to do, it took me it's taken us, what are we in, 2021? We started in 2018. And a lot of that was just him working on my heart and helping me learn to trust and know who he is in a way that's bigger than me, because Lamb's Place is beyond, it's beyond me. And I can tell every time that I keep trying to put my hands on it and trying to direct it and steer it, because everything comes just to a halt. It's just, and I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall. And you know, I've had to do that enough times, you know, and he lets me do it enough times that I start recognizing it a little sooner. You know, like, oh wait, that's starting to hurt again. Hold on. And then when I recognize it, I'm like, all right, God, you're right. It's your baby. I don't know why I'm worrying about this. You know, like we didn't have a kid in our home for 3 months, and my old self would have been a hot mess. Like, how are we going to pay for all of this? How are we going to do da da da? And God, I mean, he would send. I got so many God stories. It's amazing. He would send like a check in the mail from somebody I didn't know from doing things like this that would just remind me and speak to my spirit and say, Lauren, I've got this. This is covered. This is my baby. You know, like, stop, get off. And then, you know, the girls' home that we just opened, we opened it, y'all, in 3 days. That is nothing but God. And I don't mean like opened it. I mean, like, we got the keys on a Friday, fully furnished by Monday for them to move in. That's God. That is not, I mean, those are the things that he keeps showing me, but he had to work that out in me. And I'm still working it out. And so it's such a journey. And that's one of the things I love too about Lamb's Place is it gives me opportunities to share what he's done and to celebrate who he is, and not just impact our kids, but impact our community, you know, because some of our stakeholders and people that we collaborate with, they might not know Jesus. They might know of him, you know. And so I get the privilege of just being like, look what God did. Like, do you see this? It's not those matching couches and things. No, I didn't go out and buy those. God provided that. And I get to tell the girls that, you know, like, I mean, it's just that's what Lamb's Place is about at the end of the day. I mean, the house is the tool that God is using for us to get connected to these young people. But it's so much bigger than that.
Oh, that's so good. You can't make this up.
Right.
You can't make it up. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just be obedient and God will work it all out. Every single time he will prove his faithfulness. Yeah. Every single time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the more credit you give to him, the more doors he's going to open for you, Lauren. I just believe it. Really.
It's fun to watch, you know.
Are you writing a book?
No. No.
That's funny.
Sorry. I mean,
I'll tell you my story and you write it for me.
Okay. Look. Are you kidding me?
I'm not. I'll do it.
I was supposed to be writing one too. I've got like 6 pages. Alice is the only one that's been told to write a book by God and done it. So there. Alice will help you with it.
And mine's not really a book, I say air quotes. Yeah. Lauren, I have one more question before we close this out. How has your role in not just Lamb's Place, but your role working with foster care and working with these at-risk youth, how has that impacted your own kids?
That's a good question. I don't think I've really thought about it. That one's gonna get me. Because I think if I think about it, they've seen me have to leave at random hours to go meet a need, to go meet a crisis, and to help love on them where they're at. They've been a very active role in Lamb's Place with me. They've probably met all of our kids. And so they see the need. They understand. I don't know. That's a good question. I guess, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
I think when we expose our children to us demonstrating compassion and empathy and working to fill needs around us, I think it helps increase their compassion and empathy and the exposure of how they see that other people have a story too. So like each of my kids, I would say, have their own story within our family. Mm-hmm. But I think when Tony came to live with us, she brought her own story. and then that impacted our stories, right? But I just think that that when our kids are exposed to needs, when we're helping to fulfill some of those needs, I just think it creates compassion within them rather than sheltering them from a world that has need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been kind of fun because over the years, my boys are in Christian school and I'm so thankful for it. But they haven't been exposed to a lot of the things that you would see in public schools or just things. I mean, I remember when my oldest son went to driver's ed here in Pitt County, and it was in a public school setting, and he came home the first day and said, "Mom, I have never heard the F-bomb so many times in just a normal conversation." I'm like, I know, that's a thing, and I remember I was watching a documentary that my clinical supervisor recommended, and she kind of warned me that it could be a lot to handle. You don't really just watch, you might not want to watch it with your kids, but I'm very open with my kids when it comes to seeing different sides. And so one of mine wanted to watch it with me, and I said, okay, but look, you might hear some language and you might hear some things that you're not used to, or and the documentary, they did a really good job of touching on the issue and showing the need without going over the top, if that makes sense. And so, we're able to have those conversations that, yeah, y'all are from a single parent and y'all are blessed, compared to some of these other kids that are on the struggle, and it'll be fun to watch what God does with them through all of this, and how because they both have a very servant's heart, and they will jump, they will help if you ask them to help.
Yeah,
I love that.
Okay, we ready for our rapid fire questions?
Oh my goodness, I don't know. My finger.
It's fun.
These are the questions that we ask each woman in our Amazing and Courageous series. So, Lauren, when you need to be brave, but you feel fear, what do you do?
I stop and be still, and know that he's with me. That's being still was something that he just really put into me before all this happened. Yeah.
Good. What's a snapshot of an ordinary moment that brings you great joy?
Seeing my boys succeed and doing the things that they enjoy doing, watching my youngest play guitar, watching my oldest just he's just growing, and those bring me a lot of joy, just watching them.
Yeah. Okay, and the last one, what do people often get wrong about you?
I don't know how to say it, because I don't think people believe that I'm an introvert. I'm truly an introvert. And then two, that my bark can be pretty loud if it needs to be. And I think that's one of the reasons I can connect with some of these kids. I can be nice, but when I have to hold you, I can hold you. So I can be tough. I can be a tough cookie if I need to be, but that's not my go-to.
Now listen, that's valuable. That's valuable. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I can hold my own if I need. That's the phrase I was looking for.
That's awesome.
That's good.
All right, Lauren, thank you so much for being with us and telling us all about Lamb's Place. And we will definitely plug this on social media prior to airing. So our viewers, our listeners, I always say viewers like I think they can see us. They can't see us. They can just hear us. Okay, so our listeners, right? Our audience will get a clip of this on social media, and then they'll get all the links to find this episode to listen. So thank you so much for sharing and giving us some of your time today and sharing.
I just thank you so much for the opportunity, and it's always fun to see you ladies.
Thank you.
Hey, you guys, we just want to say thank you today. We want to thank our listeners and those of you that have subscribed to the Simple Conversations podcast. We want to thank our sound and production team for all of their hard work behind the scenes. That would be Tim and Alyssa Ranker. And we also want to give a big shout out to CMS Mortgage Solutions and our friend Karina Carter, because without her, it would be really challenging for us to make this podcast. So keep listening and share it with your friends. Thanks.
Hey y'all, this is KJ from Simple Conversations where grace meets strength. Thank y'all so much for listening and tuning in. If it weren't for y'all, there would be no reason for us to do this. Listen, we need your help. We need your support. So head on over to patreon.com/Simple Conversations and decide exactly how you want to be involved. For $5 a month, you would get access to behind the scenes content. For $25 a month, you would get that as well as a shout out on the podcast or fan input. As a supporter for $50 a month, you would get all that in the previous two tiers, as well as a one-time gift or book that Alice and I have read or are reading that we think would add value to your life. Or for $100 a month, we consider you family. You ever heard that before? That's friends that are so good that we consider you family. So you would get everything in the previous three tiers, as well as exclusive branded merchandise from Simple Conversations. So listen, our heart's desire is to do more and to be more. And so in order for us to do that, we need help. And so we're dependent on you to help us make that happen. So thanks for tuning in and thanks for your support. See y'all.